When you lose your spouse, when your spouse dies. When your spouse dies, when your spouse dies. Hello, y'all. I'm Dianna, Brianne. Well, I don't give advice. I don't give suggestions. I just share with you my opinion and how I see different topics. And I got to thinking, out of about 3,800 videos, which I have up on my main channel, Dianna Brianne Fairchild. And if you haven't connected to all 5 channels, please do. The links are pinned to the top of the comment section below. And if you connect with me, I will likely connect back with you with all 5. So I got to thinking, I had never done a subject or a video that I can remember on when a spouse dies. And so today, as I was running along and I had talked to someone who said that their spouse had died and how traumatized they were by it. And of course, I would be traumatized too. And so I came back and I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to talk about that subject, when a spouse dies. Now, I have my husband, okay, and he has me. So I can't say that I'm an expert on that subject at all, because I'm not. But I have seen people who have gone through that situation. Of course, I hope my husband and I both live to be 100 or more together, healthy and happy and productive. And yet, there's no guarantees in life, like Grandma would say. And I think it's wise to be somewhat prepared either way. And so as I get older, I begin to prepare for potential what ifs. Now, I try to avoid the what ifs if I can, but I also want to be prepared for them. You know, as we get older, I hear a lot of people talking about the importance of being near a hospital, being near their doctor, having great doctors, you know, in case they need them. And I understand that. You know, I'm well into my 60s now, and those things matter more than they ever did. I'm in great health. I want to stay in great health. And yet I'm looking at all the potential what ifs so that either I can avoid them or I can deal with them effectively if they happen. So what if a spouse dies? Well, first of all, it's traumatic. And during that time that a spouse dies, everything is just confusing and in a whirlwind. And often we don't know what to do. We're emotionally devastated, and we can be devastated and feel overwhelmed in so many different ways. And so I got to thinking about that. And you know, my husband and I have actually had this conversation, and we both hope that we live healthy and happy in many, many, many more years. And yet we've talked about the what ifs. What if I go before he does, or what if he goes before I do? And we've talked to other people in our age group. We have this one couple that we know that went and redid their whole home, not to put it up for sale, but to prepare it for that potential what if one of the you know, one part of the couple passes on and leaves the other by themselves. Would they want to stay there? If they do, they want the house in great shape. If they want to sell it, it's ready to be sold. But they want to enjoy it and live in it till that day happens, and then make that decision. But they don't want to feel overwhelmed when that day comes. Well, I think it'd be a lot easier transition if I went first, because, well, my husband, he always says he would simplify, probably buy a motorhome and move into the motorhome and sell our big house. For me, I would want to keep my big home. I love my home, but yet I realize that by myself, it might be too big, or it might be overwhelming for me to try to figure it out. So like the other couple my husband and I have already begun that process of, streamlining our home to what we really want, taking care of our home meticulously so that if there was ever a day that I passed on or he passed on, the other person could decide to live here and it wouldn't be overwhelming, or they could decide to sell it and it would be ready for sale, minus, having to move out all of my grandma's antiques. And all of my paintings and all of my doodads. I always tell my husband, just call up the local volunteer people and they'll come after all of my stuff. I say that lovingly and jokingly. But my husband is more simplistic and would probably lead a more simplistic life than I do. But either way, I think it's important that both spouses understand the finances, because if only one spouse is handling the finances, it can be overwhelming for the other spouse to deal with it in the midst of all the other emotional parts and elements of losing a spouse. So it's important, in my opinion, that both spouses handle the finances. As you all know, I don't give advice or suggestions or information. I just share with you my perspective on different topics, as is with this one. And so it's important, in my opinion, that both handle the finances, both take responsibility, accountability, and understand the finances. I believe that tying up loose ends is very important, so that if anything happens to one spouse or the other, there's no loose ends to speak of in a major way. There's always small loose ends, but you don't want big loose ends. I think that when a spouse passes, whether it's a wife or a husband, it's extremely traumatic. And often making major decisions during that time often can be the wrong decision. I know someone who was very close to me that when her husband died, she just kind of went into a tailspin. She sold everything, moved across country, and then she wasn't happy, and then she moved back across country and wasn't happy, and then moved until she essentially ran out of money. And, she wasn't making smart decisions. And it's easy to not make smart decisions when you feel a sense of confusion, when you feel a sense of emotional confusion or sadness or despair or emptiness. It's easy to make wrong decisions and to trust wrong people. So you've got to make sure that beforehand you've got people that are competent, that you can trust, that would help be wisdom during that time of losing a spouse. If you've lost a spouse, you would want someone that you could rely on for emotional support. It could be a grandmother. It could be, by that time probably grandma has passed, but it would be somebody that you could trust, truly trust. There's people that pretend to be trustworthy and they're not. They'll rip you off, so you don't want to be ripped off. And that's a time a lot of people come out of the woodwork and try to rip people off who've just lost their spouse. So be very careful on major decisions, especially financial decisions or selling things during that first part of that period of time of loss, because people make a lot of wrong decisions during that time period, and it's better, if at all possible, to wait if you can. So you prepare yourself for that potential what if. Whether it's, whoever goes first, you try to be financially stable so that you're not devastated and have to resort to moving or making major decisions that you don't want to make. So, I always have believed in life insurance, and, I believe in that because you leave the person that you love in a stable position so that they can make good decisions, so they don't have to make panicky decisions. I would want my husband to be able to make great decisions and not make panicky decisions. And I think a lot of people, when they lose their spouse, have to make panicky decisions, and you don't want to be in that position. I think take care of your health. For me, I would never marry again. I would never want to marry again. I've had a wonderful, beautiful marriage. So, at this stage of my life, I would be focused on me. I would be focused on taking care of me and connecting with the people that I love and living out my life that way. Other people would want to get married again. I don't think it's a wise idea to get married after the loss of someone right away, because often that is a wrong decision. So I think you've got to give yourself time after you've lost your spouse. I think you've got to give yourself time to absorb what's happened and try to avoid any kind of major decision like getting married to somebody else or, investing all your money into something that you're not sure of, and be very careful who you trust. who you trust is a biggie, because people do come out of the woodwork, and a lot of those people are not good people with good intentions, and they can pretend to be very supportive and move their way into your life at a time you're very vulnerable. So remember, you're very vulnerable when you've lost a spouse. So you've kind of got to keep up your defenses and your alertness, and surround yourself with people that you've been trusting for a long time and that you can essentially trust. And there's different levels of trust. Remember, I would not trust someone, financially outside of my husband or my kids, but you have to be careful who you trust. Take care of you. If you need professional support, whether it's a minister or more professional supports, get it by all means, but get the right professional support. Not all professionals are trained or even make right decisions or right suggestions. So you want to make sure that you're getting competent professionalism. And take care of you and give yourself time. Give yourself time to get through that journey of loss, because it's very traumatic. And hopefully that you don't experience that. Hopefully you both live very, very full lives and live a wonderful, wonderful life and live it out fully, like my grandma and grandpa did. They were almost 100 years old, and they lived out their life fully. And so my husband and I, we live our life together fully. We create our own dreams together. We create our own adventures together, and we make our dreams happen together. And so we're living fully. So remember, enjoy your spouse, embrace your spouse, be prepared for the what ifs, and yet enjoy your journey, and don't fear losing your spouse. Enjoy your spouse and let them enjoy you, and make the most of your life. So I came on to talk about this topic, not to scare anybody, but to just remember that there's always things that can be unexpected in life. And I think being prepared for the unexpected and hope that it never happens is often the best way to go. So losing a spouse is a very traumatic event, and it's something that each person deals with differently. Like I said, I don't give advice or suggestions. I just share with you how I see life and how I would apply a situation like that to my life, or how I would want my husband to apply it if he lost me. And so, meeting the woman and talking to the woman today and about how traumatized she was prompted this video. And I hope you liked it, and I hope you like, share, subscribe to all 5 of my channels. Links are pinned at the top of the comment section below. And I hope to talk to you soon again. May God bless you. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.